Eli Turner had lived most of his life trying not to be noticed. As a kid, he was the boy teachers forgot to call on, the one whose bruises were dismissed as roughhousing, the one who never raised his voice, because raising it only made the fist come faster. By the time he was 12, he had learned the essential rule of surviving in Chicago's South Side. Silence keeps you alive. Police came, adults ignored him. Home was a place of slammed doors and thrown bottles. Eli grew into a quiet adult, still repairing the fractures of a childhood that had never healed. He worked a small job as a school crosswalk guard, low pay, long hours, but simple enough to manage with his medications. The job didn't give him pride, but it gave him routine, stability, proof that he could be part of the world without disrupting it, until the day the teenagers took his sign. It was a cold October morning. Eli stood in his neon vest holding the bright orange stop sign while children rushed across. He liked this part, protecting kids the way no one had protected him. But at 3:15, as dismissal chaos swept over the street, a group of older teens swaggered over. Eli tensed immediately. They had harassed him before. "Hey, sign boy," one of them snickered. "What you gonna do if I just take this?" Before Eli reacted, the boy ripped the stop sign from his hands. "Give it back," Eli stammered, pulse pounding. "That's school property." The teens laughed and bolted. Eli chased them, not out of pride, not out of anger, but out of fear. If he lost his sign, he'd lose the job, and he had no backup plan for his rent, his medication, or his life. He caught up to them near the alley, behind a corner store. Big mistake. They shoved him first and punched him, then stomped him while he was curled up, trying to protect his face. One of them even recorded it. When they left, Eli crawled towards the sign, lying in the gutter. He wiped blood from the reflective surface. He tried to stand, but the world spun. He didn't have the money for the ambulance or the ER, so he limped home, cleaned himself with cold water, and went to bed shaking. The next morning, the school principal called him into the office. "You abandoned your post," she said sharply. "And one of the students' parents sent us a video of you chasing teenagers." I was attacked," Eli whispered. "They took my sign. I had to get it back. You escalated the situation. We can't have liability like that. Please, this job is all I have." She didn't even look at him. "Turn in your vest. You're done." Something cracked in Eli's chest, but it made no sound. Within 3 weeks, his savings were gone. Rent was overdue. His medications ran out. His anxiety grew teeth. His depression wrapped itself around his ribs. The day his landlord taped the eviction notice to his door, Eli didn't have the energy to be surprised. So he walked the streets, clutching a backpack with the last of his belongings, becoming part of the invisible crowd. Forgotten ones, the ones everyone stepped around. Nights were the hardest. Chicago nights cut deep. One evening, while searching for anywhere warm to rest, Eli stumbled into a large protest forming outside City Hall. People en masse held signs criticizing the mayor's corruption, his luxury deals, his dismissal of the poor. Eli wasn't protesting, he wasn't even paying attention, but when the police lines advanced, shields up, tear gas firing, batons swinging, he didn't move fast enough. Someone slammed into him, he fell, then came the blows, the gas, the boots, the screaming. When the officers noticed he wasn't resisting, they didn't care. "This one's with the agitators," someone said. Handcuffs tightened until his wrist bled, and was dragged into a police van along with dozens of protesters. By sunrise, Eli was thrown into a massive holding cell, one huge concrete box containing over 100 men, hair thick with sweat, anger, and hopelessness. Eli sat alone in a corner, hugging his knees, rocking slightly. The world had taken everything from him, his dignity, his job, his home, his medication, his sense of safety. "How many times," he whispered to himself, voice shaking, "how many times can a person get kicked before they're allowed to stand?" He didn't realize he'd spoken aloud. A few inmates glanced over. Eli kept talking, words pouring out like cracked glass. "They say stay calm, stay quiet, don't lash out, don't defend yourself, don't get angry, don't break, don't break, don't break." His voice trembled into a whisper. "But what happens when there's nothing left to break?" A deep silence fell over the cell. Someone whispered, "Damn." Eli wasn't crying, that would have been human. Instead his mind tilted, something inside him shifting, snapping like an overstressed wire. A sound burst from him, sharp, high, unhinged. Laughter. It echoed through the cell, long, wild, uncontrollable. Dozens of men fell quiet, staring. Even the guards outside paused. Eli rose slowly, still laughing. His shoulders shook as tears spilled down his cheeks, but the laughter drowned everything. It lasted until the cell was completely silent. Then he stopped, straightened, and spoke with terrifying clarity. They don't care about us, he said. Not one of them. Not the mayor, not the police, not the system. We're the foundation they stand on. And they kick it every chance they get. They think we're nothing. They think we can take every beating and just stay quiet. He stepped forward, but we're not quiet anymore. Eli raised his hands, wrists still swollen from the cuffs. The city doesn't care if we live or die, so why should we care if it burns down? Roars erupted from the inmates. Eli's voice grew stronger. Tonight, right here, right now, we decide what we are. Victims, or the ones who finally pushed back. The guards rushed forward, but they were too late. Eli's speech became the spark. The cell exploded with fury. Dozens of inmates surged toward the bars. Others rammed the weak hinges. Some overwhelmed the guards at the doors, bursting it open. Alarms wailed, lights flickered, footsteps thundered as prisoners flooded the corridors. Eli stood at the front, calm now, eerily calm, as men ran past him. Outside, chaos erupted across the streets. The jail overflowed. The city's fragile order cracked like thin ice. At dawn, Chicago was shaking. News stations scrambled to understand the riot leader, a man with a battered face and a mismatched coat, who spoke with the conviction of someone who had nothing left to lose. To some, he became a villain. To others, a hero. To many, a warning. Reporters labeled him the final straw, or the broken man, a man made dangerous not by madness, but by neglect. And as the city descended into anarchy, fires burning, windows smashed, crowds marching, makeshift banners, Eli looked down from a rooftop, watching the world that had never loved him crumble under its own indifference. He hadn't meant to become a leader. He had simply been broken too many times, and sometimes all it takes to ignite a revolution is one person finally getting tired of being kicked while they're down.